This video is brought to you by my generous backers over on Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel and get cool perks like access to the Discord, seeing the videos a week before anyone else, or an entire video dedication, then feel free to check out my Patreon. The link's in the description below. This video is dedicated to Outlaw. Outlaw, thank you for supporting the EDH channel. Edgar Markov versus O-Kagachi, Vengeful Kami, Polukranos Unchained, and Multani, Yavimayas Avatar. Not seeing too much blue at the table. There might be some blue spells, the odd counter here from O-Kagachi, but yeah, looks like we're in line for a fun game. Multani can go crazy in no time flat. I'm sure Polukranos can as well. Alright, another land for us. We will start as we mean to go on and go in for the Viscerous Seer. We don't have a 2-drop yet, but we'll be able to go in for Captivating Vampire and Sangromancer if we want to. Although I'd like to surprise my opponents with a Captivating Vampire, then we can steal the best creature at the table, preferably. Just a couple of tap lands so far from our opponents. And speaking of our opponents, we've got Go-Go Batman on Multani. And then Polukranos is being piloted by another patron of the channel, Cranial Mage. And then Donald is an internet random on O-Kagachi. Sol Ring doesn't help us, surprisingly enough. So let's go for the Sulphurous Springs. We might as well play the Sol Ring, but we'll just tap it down immediately. We're certainly not going to go in for Toxic Deluge. And then we'll just take a couple of hits in at Donald. I'm just going to spread the damage around in the early game because I've no idea who the threat is, really, to be honest. I mean, this could be anything. Sakura Tribe Elder now for Multani. And so begins getting a heap of lands into play. And what a shame. So already losing the 5-colour player. Clearly they missed their third land and thought that that was actually worth scooping over. So, as usual, we're going to have to rely on the patrons to actually stick a game out for longer than 2 minutes. Okay, another land for us. Let's go in for that Urborg, as much as it might help our opponents. There's already a couple of black sources over here anyway, so I don't think they're going to struggle on their black mana. And it does mean that we don't have to take as much pain from the sulphurous... what's this called? Sulphurous Springs. Getting to Sangromancer, that ought to gain us a lot of life over the course of the game, especially with a sack outlet in play. That is, if no one goes for a board wipe, which Cranial Mage may well be holding on to. Recross Paths now. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a land. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom. And then you can return it to your hand if you win the clash. So Go-Go won the clash there. Fertilid and This Is Renewal were revealed. That is obviously 6 mana. And then Fertilid is on top of Cranial Mage's deck. So hopefully they've got a land to play that next turn. Instead going in for Phyrexian Arena. No better time to get it down than in the early game. And just more lands for us. Wow. Let's go in for our commander then. Don't want to be hitting lands every turn in an aggro deck. And speaking of an aggro deck, we kind of have to just focus all our efforts in on one player if we're going to run aggro. So I think the biggest threat at the table currently is Multani. So we'll go in with everything, put a bunch of plus counters on everything, and see if we can get rid of them before they really get going. If they get down their Multani next turn, then we can go Captivating Vampire and steal that away from them. Recross Paths reveals the Blighted Woodland, and that goes into play. Now they're sacking the Myriad Landscape, so getting some nice ramp from their lands. And Recross Paths went into the graveyard because it was a Forest on top versus a Vamp Tutor on top. And they can actually draw into their Vampiric Tutor here, cast it, and then draw whatever they tutor for during the draw step, which is exactly what they're going for. Oh, and then the Toxic Deluge, I mean, that's about as bad as it gets for us. And yeah, I had a feeling that Cranial was holding on to a board wipe there. So what can we go for with Demonic Tutor then? Let's have a looky. And how does our commander trigger actually? That is... it's whenever you cast a vampire spell. We've got 5 mana available to us. Why don't we just go in for Necropotence at this point? Seeing as how we really need to regroup quickly. Yeah, let's just go in for that. And it's noteworthy as well that I could have gone for the sacrifice on Viscera Seer, but I was F6 through my opponent's turns. So they got the jump on us with the Toxic Deluge there. We get into 5 cards with Necropotence. And get into another land, as I assumed we would. So let's go Plains, because we can grab another red source with the Flooded Strand. Reap and Sow now. Search for a land and put it onto the battlefield. So definitely very heavy on the lands matter theme from GoGo, and they do have Thespian Stage in play as well. So they might be going for the Marit Lage. Nope, they just want haste on their commander. And this is nowhere near as bad a land that you have to pour a lot of mana into with Urborg in play. Okay, Song of the Dryads comes down. I mean, it gives us another land at least. But we've already refilled our hand and we've got means of drawing cards off of Twilight Prophet as well. I think we need 10 or more permanents. We've got 2, 4, 6, 7. That'll be 8 with the Twilight Prophet. We'll have tokens in play as well, so we should be able to get that off. Hardened Scales now from Cranial. And in for Polukranos, with not too much mana, thankfully. But they can definitely get rid of one of our creatures with that. Alright, there's a mountain for us. We'll definitely play that. Because we were struggling on red sources up until then. And let's go in for... that should be... yeah, if it's a land, it should be a forest. And a swamp as well, thanks to Urborg, but... Modo's not allowing us to tap that for black, okay. So instead, we will go for... what do we want to tap down? I don't think it matters. Let's go Twilight Prophet. And then how far are we from a Sen there? We've got 2, 4, 6... oh, we've already got the City's Blessing. Okay. Oh yeah, we've got exactly 10. Alright, so it is this. And this. We'll go Dusk Legion Zealot. And that will lose us a life and draw us a card. Oh, Skull Clamp is really good. But why don't we go for Captivating Vampire now and hope that we don't get wheeled? I mean, really hope we don't get wheeled. Let's go Captivating Vampire and we will see if our opponent bothers to go in for a Multani now or not. Because Summoning Sickness isn't affected by this, it doesn't have the little tap arrow. So we can steal a creature away at instant speed because we've got enough vampires to do that. The problem is now we've switched off our Skull Clamp with that Lord, but I'm thinking this will eat removal if anyone has it anyway. Ugin is yet another board wipe. I think we recuperated quite well from that first board wipe, but there's not really a whole lot that an aggro deck can do against a heap of board wipe like we're seeing here. Well, 2 so far. So just getting rid of the tokens. Alright, well we get to keep our Lord in play at least, so let's tap down the tokens before they get taken away from us. And we'll steal that Polukranos. Might as well. So we're actually going to be able to take Ugin away, assuming that Cranial Mage doesn't do something. I think I would have gone for the -X on that, but for a higher total, maybe they're aiming for the limit break. Or maybe I'm just thinking now, maybe they didn't want to give us Necropotence, because if they go for -X equals 3, they'll get rid of their own Song of the Dryads. So that might have been what they were thinking of there. Polukranos coming down now, and when does this fight? You have to pay to have it fight, don't you? Oh, and there is a strip mine as well. Enters with 6 counters on it, and it has escape of 6. Now an Incubation Druid coming down as well. I've wanted to play with Twilight Prophet for a long time, but this is the first chance I've had. So we get to draw into some extra cards here. We've got Rakish Air. Whenever a vampire you control deals combat damage to a player, put plus counters on it. Don't know how much chance we're going to get to deal damage to players here. Let's play the Flooded Strand. Do we just want to steal Polukranos, or do we want to exile it? Let's go for Stromkirk Condemned. And if we play the Rakish Air as well, we can swing in at Ugin. And we can hold up vampires to steal the Polukranos. Or the Multani. Yeah, so let's go like that. Get into Rakish Air. And then we can play and equip Skull Clamp as well, can't we? So let's play that. We'll put the Clamp onto Polukranos, so that we can deal with Ugin with just one creature. And then we need 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 creatures held back, so we can swing in with these two to put counters on them. So we'll go in at Cranial with the Flyer. They don't have reach, do they? No, there's no reach there. No reach there. And that one can go in at Go-Go. So we take down Ugin, deal a little bit of damage. Rakish Air will put some plus counters on a couple of our creatures there, the ones that hit players. And then we're holding up Crib Swap. And we've got a decision to make. Do we want to steal Polukranos or Multani? I think Multani's more difficult to deal with, to be honest. And does Multani have... Yes, it has Trample as well, so I think it's Multani we're wanting to steal away. Ooh, Terrastodon coming down. I think they can take out creatures with that, can't they? No, it's non-creature permanents, alright, so just going after the Skull Clamp, I would think. The Urborg and the Skull Clamp and the Sol Ring, well, we're getting more creatures at least. Yeah, Urborg's useful to us, but I'm not really too worried about it. I don't think we have Cabal Coffers in this deck. So, yeah, Skull Clamp is the one that I'm most worried about losing there, but we've got a Lord in place, so we can't use it to its full effect anyway. We'd need the Viscerous Seer or another sack outlet in order to use it properly. So now then, do we want to steal Polukranos at this point? How about we just... Yeah, we don't want them fighting anything, do we? Which they could do at instant speed, so... Let's steal the Polukranos right now. And Avenger of Zendikar. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one to Crib Swap, I think. Because I really don't want the plants having a lot of power. I don't even want them having 1 power. They're much better as 0/1s that we can swing into. So we'll Crib Swap. Swap that out for a 1/1 colourless Shapeshifter. We get a vampire for that as well, because this does count as a vampire. And then the tokens come down, which we can easily swing into. And then Bojuka Bog, exiling our graveyard. I think we've got a little bit of recursion. Yeah, mainly just worried about losing Viscerous Seer and Sangromancer there, but it's not the end of the world. Now then, let's hope for something big off the top with the Twilight Prophet. We revealed the Anguished Unmaking off of the Twilight Prophet, so that was 3 damage to each of our opponents. We gained 6. Twilight Prophet's doing some good stuff for us here. Now then, do we want to go for Toxic Deluge for 2? No, we don't, because of Captivating Vampire, so we could just do it for 1. I think that's a good idea. And then how much damage can we do to all of our opponents? We want to force them to block, really. We can go Anguished Unmaking onto this, or just straight up steal it, I suppose. No, we'll Anguished Unmaking that. Let's go Toxic Deluge. Do we want to do that? Let's crack this for a plateau, first of all. Or actually, we'll go for a black mana with that. We don't have as much red as we do black in the deck. Wouldn't I rather just have Markov in play? That is us tapping out, though. I want to pile on as much damage as I can. Alright, so if they block Terastodon on that, for instance, that'll be 4, 5, 6, 7, 15, and then take the rest in over here. Yeah, I think we can take out Go-Go here, so let's just go in for the Edgar Markov. My plan was initially to go for Toxic Deluge, get rid of most of these creatures, and then Anguished Unmaking onto that. I think it's much of a muchness, but I'd rather keep removal in hand if I don't have to use it. So I'm going to assume that they block this one. And then it's 4, 10, 15... Yeah, so that forces their hand there, doesn't it? And then we'll go in like that at Cranial. And we might as well swing in with the Captivating Vampire at Cranial as well, because they can't take us out with that. Or they can't take the Captivating Vampire away from us, I should say. Oh, and of course we get the buff from Edgar Markov as well, so that should be enough to get rid of Go-Go. I'm not too sure about Cranial. And can we do this at instant speed as well? Yeah, we can discard this as well. Yeah, so we definitely have to figure out if it's worth doing or not after Cranial Mage blocks. I don't think we can take them out this turn. So we're just waiting on Cranial to wipe the board again during his turn at this point. Let's see how he's blocked here. Doesn't look like anything's getting through to Cranial. Apart from the Captivating Vampire, that's 3. Yeah, just 3 damage, so I'm not going to bother discarding with the Stormkirk Condemned. We get some plus counters from hitting Go-Go. And there we go, managing to take Go-Go down, taking Cranial down to 6. And it's fingers crossed that there's no board wipe at this point. If we can drag out the game long enough, then that Phyrexian Arena will kill him anyway. Oh, and we've got our Necropotence back as well. I could have put life into that in order to refill our hand. Yep, forgot all about the Song of the Dryads. But we can do it during this turn, we just won't draw any cards at the beginning of our, well, during our draw step. Adapting the Incubation Druid, which suggests that they don't have anything. Rishkar's Expertise, okay, so that's a desperate attempt of drawing some cards. Really don't see what they can do here, they're just tapping out, so we just turn everything sideways at them next turn. They get to cast Doubling Season for free. Oh, of course, they get the free cast off of this, don't they? So they were obviously going in for a board wipe there. Something like a Damnation they would have been allowed to cast. But as it happens, we've been pretty lucky this game. I think it would have been a way different game if there were 3 players against us. We did a good job dealing with the other 2 players though, especially considering the early board wipe. And then there was always the chance of us taking the board wipe from Ugin as well. Anyway, let's attack with all creatures. We will discard the Bloodstained Mire just for the fun of it, and we'll see how much we can take them down by. Oh, of course, first strike damage from Edgar Markov means that we're not going to take them down by an incredible amount. But any of you that want to flick through this and work it out, you can let me know in the comments. That was a really fun one with Edgar Markov. Sometimes you pull off good wins like that with Markov, and sometimes you just you don't go anywhere with it. It's just one of those decks. I mean, that's aggro in general, isn't it? Sometimes you go nuts and sometimes you get dealt with by more control-y players and removal heavy players, but turned out quite nicely for us today, so hopefully you all enjoyed it. Leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you did. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.